Hi, everybody. I am Michelle Morris from Consolidated Planning Group. Thank you so much for joining us for another webinar. We do these 2 or 3 times a week because we truly feel like educating the community creates better advocates out there. And the more advocates that we have helping us stand up for the special needs community, the better. And of course, education makes us all stronger. So we're here to help. We are here to teach people and to make sure that you have the tools and the correct information to go forward. So today we're going to be talking about ABLE accounts. We're going to focus on that. But a few items to note before we get started. I want to let everybody know that we do record all of our webinars. We present live. I am here in my office in Missouri City, Texas, really speaking to you live right now. So if I start, choking on my breath or my dog starts barking or something like that, I apologize in advance. Um, After we present the webinar, though, we take that recording and we put it on our YouTube channel. So if you should happen to step away or you can't stay for the entire presentation, good news, you can go back later and watch on our YouTube channel. We also, since you have registered for today's webinar using your email address and name and phone number, I hope, we are going to email you a link to that recording later on today. We're also going to send you all the slides that I go over. So you'll have the recording and the slides to help you along your journey. I can't see or hear you today, so please, if you have any questions or comments, which I hope you do, put them in the chat box. That's the easiest way for me to get your questions and present all the material and be able to see everything that I need to see on my side. So first of all, a little bit about Consolidated Planning Group, who we are, what we do, why do we present this information, and why should you even be here listening to us in the first place? Well, not only are we holistic financial advisors who serve families all across the financial landscape, but we are also parents to loved ones with needs. All four of the financial advisors at Consolidated Planning Group have children who have needs in their lives. So we not only live this through work, but also in our personal lives. We have over 30 years of experience in things like life insurance and investments, money management, retirement planning, all of that kind of stuff. We also have over 30 years of experience in being parents of special needs loved ones. So we are chartered special needs consultants, members of the Special Needs Planning Academy, and certified Social Security advisors. We take this very seriously, and almost every single client we have has a loved one with needs. We know what it's like when you're just trying to get from Wednesday to Thursday and you don't have the capacity to be thinking about and researching everything you need to do for your loved one. And we truly aim to take that burden off your shoulders, help you sleep a little bit better at night, and give you that roadmap to go forward with confidence in the future and planning for the needs for your loved one. So families really come to us a lot for things like lifetime care planning and protection plans. We do a lot about, talking about transition periods and ABLE accounts, how they can help you, which is going to be our focus for today. We do a future cost of care estimate for our clients, where we look at how much money is your loved one going to need after you pass away to fulfill their needs and their care and their levels of support throughout the rest of their lives. So we let people know what that number is, how much they're going to need, and then additionally, how much needs to go into the special needs trust to ensure that that funding will be there for your loved one. We help families figure out their state and local benefits and what state and federal benefits and what local resources are there for you in terms of various things that you and your loved one enjoy doing. Summer camps, residential programs, day programs, educational options, work options. We've got all that information. And again, we are here to advocate for you and to educate you. There are so many, I think, people out there who want to help, but might not know all the nuanced rules and ins and outs of all of these programs. And they might not give you the best advice, even though they are completely well meaning. They might say something like, well, hey, Lynn, your child is 18 and they have this diagnosis. My child is 18 and he has this diagnosis. So surely they should be getting the same programs and the same supports. Well, if they don't truly know what's going on in your life and they don't truly know all the rules and regulations surrounding these programs, they might just be giving you bad advice. Whereas we take the time to listen to your particular situation, understand what you and your loved one are going through, and give you that knowledgeable, nuanced advice that you need. And it's pretty rare to find a company like Consolidated Planning Group because there are over 263,000 financial advisors across the United States. 263,000. But out of those 263,000, fewer than 200 financial planning firms focus on special needs planning the way that we do. That's less than a tenth of a percent of all the financial advisors in the United States who truly understand the things that we talk about on a daily basis. So just some quick tips as you're thinking about the future. I would encourage everybody here to schedule a free consultation with us and ask us those questions that are keeping you awake at night. But we know that one of the biggest questions that keeps the families that we work with or the parents that we work with awake at night is wondering what's going to happen when I cannot take care of my loved one anymore. If I'm not here or if I'm unable, what's going to happen? And we help really drill in on the possibilities and the circumstances, the funding mechanisms for what you want to happen, and give you that choice. We give you the power to make the decisions for the future. If you don't plan ahead, the state and the courts will make those choices for you. So we suggest that everybody get started as soon as possible. It does not matter how old or young your child is. Get started with planning for the future as soon as possible because that gives you a longer runway to make small incremental changes that are going to have a much larger impact if you start early. If you're a little bit later in life, that's okay too. I'm not saying you should just give up and say, oh, well, it's too late. No, we can still make great improvements to what you are currently doing that are going to help your loved one in the future. So think about, what's going to happen after high school. Is your loved one going to graduate to the sofa to play video games or to their room to be on their iPad? Or are you interested in educational opportunities that are out there or work programs or even residential communities or day programs? There's so much available for our loved ones, but it does take some digging. And there's not so many spaces that there's never a wait list, right? If there's a wait list and you find a great program, you want to get on that as soon as possible. So the earlier you plan, the more options you're going to have in that area as well. Finally, think very carefully before you just automatically assume that a sibling is going to be a great successor caregiver. It doesn't always work out like that. It might seem like it would be easy, seem like it would be the best and least expensive plan. However, when the time comes, you might find that the caregiver agreed to bite off more than they can actually chew. And now they see their loved one kind of as a burden or an obligation. And you don't want that. And from the other perspective, your loved one with needs, they've had this sibling, this partner in crime, this best friend their whole lives. And now all of a sudden that person wants to step into the role of caregiver. that might feel a little bit like the role of um, authority. It might feel a little bit like you're trying to be mom or dad, and that can create some resentment too. So just be really careful with that dynamic. Now, today we're really going to focus in on the ABLE account, what it does, who can use it, um, what can you use it for, how it works, all of those important things. And then at the very end, we're going to hit on what about that special needs trust? And what's the difference? How do these things work together, the ABLE account and the special needs trust? But again, I encourage you to put any questions or comments into the chat box. That'll help me be able to see them and make sure I answer those questions for you. So many people have heard of a 529 college savings account. That is a 529C, C for college. It makes it easy for me to remember. 529C is for college. It can only be used for educational expenses or education related expenses. Now, the ABLE account is a different section of that same 529 tax code. This is a 529A, and I remember A for ABLE is different from the 529C for college. ABLE account is a tax-advantaged savings plan. The beneficiary is the account owner, but it does not count against all of the resources and resource limitations and income limitations that there are related to SSI and Medicaid and other state and federal programs. So this money is kept out of the eyes of Social Security. You can use the ABLE account to pay for anything that can be construed as giving your loved one a better life experience. As a matter of fact, that's what ABLE stands for, achieving a better living experience. So if you're using it on your loved one to help them have a better life, that's all you need to say. When you have money sitting in your ABLE account, it does purchase mutual funds and earns income. That income is not taxed. So that's one great big advantage of the ABLE account is that it has tax-free income. It also has, again, does not jeopardize those SSI, Medicaid, or Medicare benefits unless you go over the limits. And we'll talk about what those are. Now, you can roll it over to another eligible family member if you have more than one person in your family with needs. But there is a Medicaid reimbursement clause that is in effect with the ABLE accounts, and we'll talk about that. Basically, if there's money left over in the account after your loved one has passed away, Medicaid may be able to come back and claim reimbursement for some of the funds they have paid to help care for your loved one and provide supports throughout their life. The other thing that you need to know is if you've already set up a 529C college savings plan, you can easily roll that over to a 529A if you're maybe starting to realize that college is not going to be in your loved one's future. So a couple of things for 2026 for ABLE accounts. New this year, they have opened up ABLE accounts to anybody who has a disability that started before they turned 46 years old, 46. So last year, the number was 26, and they said you could have an ABLE account if you had a disability that started before 26. And now they have expanded that, which is great news. The limit this year for how much money you can put into your ABLE account is $20,000. And that's from all sources, not per person. So let's say Jacob has his ABLE account. Mom can put in 10,000, dad can put in 10,000. That's it. Grandma, aunts, uncles, anyone can put money in, but that account can only gain $20,000 this year. Now that number does change a little bit each year. It usually runs kind of in tandem with the gift tax allowance. This year, $20,000. There is also the able to work provision, which gives you a little bonus if you are able to work. Um, so for people who have a job and the able account, they are able to put more money into their able account if they're working. So traditionally you can put 20,000 in for the year, but let's say that you put in your 20,000 and you have a job that has paid you $10,000 over the year. That means you can actually put $30,000 in for that year. That's 20,000, that is the limit already, plus the $10,000 that you earned through work. The limit for that is $15,650 is the maximum additional amount you could put into your ABLE account if that's how much you make at work. If you make 5,000, can you put in 15,000 additional dollars? No. You can only put in how much you earn through working. Again, you can roll over the college account to an ABLE account if you would like to. And that does count towards the annual limit. So, for example, if you already have a college savings account for your loved one, maybe grandma and grandpa started that account when they were babies and they put a bunch of money in it. If they have $40,000 in the 529 college account and you want to roll it over to the ABLE account, you might need to take several years to do that because of the limits. But the good news is that it would not be a fee event. Finally, we do get a federal tax credit starting this year that is permanent, up to $1,050 based on the contributions that you make to an ABLE account. There are usually not state benefits. Of course, since we are in Texas at Consolidated Planning Group, we don't have state taxes. So there's no way that they could give you a tax benefit or a tax credit here in Texas. Other states do have some tax benefits if you use your state's ABLE account. So check into that if you don't live in Texas. Again, Consolidated Planning Group, we are located just outside of Houston, but we serve families all across the United States because of the internet, because of our virtual meeting system. And this is just how we do things. We are able to serve clients all across the United States. So how do you prove that you are eligible for an ABLE account? This is not nearly as complicated as like with SSI benefits or other benefits where they have to get a long medical history and all of that stuff. Basically, when you're filling out the ABLE application, there's a checkbox and you have to sign, and that is your affidavit signing that your individual does have a disability that started before age 46. Now, if they ever ask you to prove it, that's me knocking on wood for nobody to get audited. But if you do ever get audited, the proof that they're going to look for is, are you already receiving SSI or SSDI? That shows that you are disabled under the eyes of Social Security, and they will accept that. The other way, if you're not already receiving those benefits, is to simply get a disability certification letter from your child's doctor. That will take care of everything. It's best to have that on hand if you don't already have something like that, just in case, like I said, in case you do get audited, you want to have the proof of that. All right, no questions yet, so I'm going to keep on going about the ABLE account. What can you use the ABLE account to pay for? Well, like I said, they say Texans, oh, there's a quick question. I'm going to go back one slide. Actually, two slides. Texans can't get that credit. The Savers credit, the last note on this slide, is a federal tax credit. You can get that tax credit. What I was talking about is state income taxes. Most, here in Texas, we don't have state income tax. So you don't have to worry about looking for tax deductions for the state taxes. Some states, if you live in that state and use the ABLE account from that state, they will give you a tax deduction on your state income taxes. Okay, that's what I was talking about. All right, we covered proving eligibility. So now let's talk about what you can use the money for. The IRS calls it qualified disability expenses. But really, when you look at it, if it is something that improves the person's health, their independence, their quality of life, you can use the ABLE account to pay for it. That includes housing and food, which is different from the rules of a third-party special needs trust. We'll talk about that a little bit later. But you can use the ABLE account to pay for rent, mortgage, taxes, utilities, pay for groceries. You could pay for transportation. You can make car payments or pay for gas or Ubers or car repairs, health expenses, anything not covered by insurance, of course, co-pays, therapies, assistive devices, home improvements. You can use it to pay for clothing, cell phone bills, vacations. You can even pay for the vacation of a caregiver along with the individual if they need a caregiver to travel with them. Now, you can't take the whole family, the whole extended family, and pay for it through the ABLE account. That might be a little too far. But in general, just think of if this is something that makes your person's life better and they're going to enjoy it and it's for them. So if they need a caregiver, you can take a caregiver on vacation. Clothing, computers, car, tuition, books, it can pay for education. So if you have your 529 college savings plan already, that can pay for education too. But that's where the two are very different because the 529 college plan is limited to educational expenses, whereas obviously the ABLE account can be spent on almost anything. If you feel like your child might not go to college or might not use all those funds for college or education, you can roll the 529 college plan to a 529 ABLE account and be able to use that money for way more than just educational expenses. There's not really a limit on when you roll these over. There's a question in the chat box. Should you do it before the person turns 18? It's not really necessary. The money, I think the reason she's asking is because of that limit on assets for SSI and Medicaid purposes. When you turn 18, you're going to be qualified for different benefits, but they will look and see if you have more than $2,000 in your name. Money in 529 accounts, whether it be college or ABLE, do not affect those benefits. Last thing here on this page, you can also use money from the ABLE account to be able to pay for financial advice or legal advice or things like that. All right, so how do you open an ABLE account? And then we're going to get more into some of these questions. So first of all, there are over 49, 50 different options across the United States of different ABLE account programs. Basically, each state has at least one ABLE account program that they sponsor in that state. But you do not have to use the state that you live in. And like I said before, in Texas, there's no huge benefit to using the Texas plan because there's no state income tax. So you can choose any of the options out there. Consolidated Planning Group can open an ABLE account for you. Now, when we do that, we have you fill out one form and send in some information like your IDs. We need a voided check so that we can confirm your bank account information. We attach the ABLE account electronically to your bank account so you can transfer money back and forth. We file all the paperwork for you. And then when the time comes and you need money transferred either into the ABLE from the checking account or from the ABLE into the checking account, you just give us a call and we do everything for you. If you want to do it yourself, you are perfectly welcome and capable. You can open your own ABLE account. This link here, when you receive these slides later on today, you'll be able to click this link to go to the ABLE National Resource Center, which gives you a ton of information about various ABLE accounts. And you can even use their comparison tool to look at different fees, features, and benefits and how those accounts work, because they have different structures, different fees, different investment opportunities, different investment companies that they work through. Some have cash portions and investment portions. Some of them have more of an investor focus. So there's a lot of different options that you can look at. Okay, so let's tackle some of the questions in the chat box before we continue. Can it roll back to the 529C if they, in fact, don't end up needing as much help? So Brandy's asking, I think what you're saying is, let's say we put 100,000 in the 529C or however much. We roll it over to a 529A ABLE account, but they don't need that much help. They do want to go to school. Can we roll it back to the 529C? Well, I would say if you're still not sure, you could have a little in both. You don't have to make a decision one or the other. You can have a little bit in both, use what you need, and see how things shake out as your child grows and evolves. Some people don't even worry about opening up an ABLE account until their child is about 18 years old. But it's what's best for your family. You can roll it back and forth, but it's a little bit of a pain, and we don't want you to lose track of the money. So, just kind of think about what your family needs. Is there a specific law I need to tell my accountant about the tax credit? If you have an ABLE account, you should automatically have that in your tax file. You'll receive a tax form that shows how much is in the ABLE account. But it should be just one of the questions that is asked. So just let your tax accountant know that you have an ABLE account and they'll be able to help with that. All right, Kim wants to know tuition. Does tuition apply to adult day programs that are not necessarily considered educational, like an accredited college or school? Kim, I would think that kind of tuition would best be paid through the ABLE account rather than a college account. There are those more specific rules for the college account, but the ABLE account can certainly pay for day hab programs or adult day programs, residential programs, partial residential, all of that kind of stuff. I do not have a disability certification form. I would just ask your doctor or your child's doctor for that. Once the beneficiary turns 18, can the sibling be the account owner? No, the beneficiary is the account owner. That's just the way it works. They own the account. Now, if they need a representative to help them manage the account, you can certainly have a representative payee, which is something that we can talk about when we talk about SSI and Medicaid rules and things like that. You can be a designated representative for your loved one to be able to help them with their money. But the individual with needs is the owner and beneficiary of this ABLE account. And Lynn wants to know about the Special Needs Trust, ABLE account, or both, and we're going to get into that. Okay. So how do you apply for the ABLE account? Well, you're going to need some documents and information about yourself and your loved one. Names, addresses, birth dates, social security number, a copy of ID. And you do need a state ID even if your loved one will not ever drive or, work or anything like that, do get them a state ID. You have to certify that the disability started before age 46. We've talked about how to prove eligibility in case you ever get audited for that. You don't have to really upload these documents, like I said, but for self-preservation, in case of an audit, you should have them on file. You can be the authorized legal representative for your loved one if they're a minor or if they just need help managing their account. In that situation, we would have to have the parent's ID and information as well as the individuals. And that's typically what we see in our business, is that the parent and the individual are on this account so that the parent can help with contributions and deposits and things like that. And because your ABLE account is typically tied to that checking account electronically, we do need something that shows your account numbers. A voided check works great. A bank statement would also work, or a letter from the bank that states the account number and routing number. Again, we can do it for you. We do not charge anything to do the paperwork for you. The ABLE account that we use, we would walk you through the rules and fees and how everything works and help you set it up to the correct amount of risk on the investment side. We would do all of that for you, and we don't charge anything to do it. So what happens to your money when you put it into an ABLE account? Does it just sit there? What? Well, when you deposit money into an ABLE account, it's not just going to sit there like it's in a vault or stuck under your mattress or anything like that. It does work kind of like a high yield savings account or an investment portfolio, but there are these legal rules around it that protect your loved one. So once you put money into the account, it is considered an exempt asset when you're talking about Medicaid and SSI. Again, they don't look at the money in your ABLE account at all. It does not count towards the $2,000 asset limit unless you go over $100,000 in the ABLE. Many, many times you'll hear us say, you can put in $20,000 for this year, but you never want the total amount in your ABLE account to be above $100,000. And that's because if it goes above $100,000, you're going to lose out on Medicaid and SSI benefits. You get to choose how that money is held. So most ABLE plans have two main things you can do. You can have a cash option, which is safer, but it doesn't really grow as much. And you won't lose any of the money. It just kind of sits there. It is more accessible. You grab it when you need it with no wait. So that's a benefit to that. But there's also an investment option for growth, where you can choose to invest the money in professionally managed portfolios, ranging from more conservative to more aggressive. That money goes in, it purchases stocks and bonds, mutual funds, things like that. And that way, when that money grows, that income comes into your ABLE account and it's not taxed. So you do get some income from that. And it's better for long-term goals, like if you want to use the money in the future to pay for care or a larger item like a modified vehicle or even a home. You mentioned, I see a question here. Well, let's go through one more slide and then we'll go back to the questions. The money that goes into mutual funds and investments in your ABLE account grows tax-free. Let's say you earn a 5% return on that investment. That 5% income is not taxed as long as you use them for qualified disability expenses, which again means as long as you use them to make your child's life better, there is no tax on that money. You don't get a 1099 at the end of the year that shows the interest. So you don't have to worry about that. You don't have to worry about filing for a refund or anything like that unless you want your state refund. Uh, Now, how do you get that money out if it's invested in mutual funds? Well, you can use a Visa or MasterCard debit card for some of them, or you can load the money onto a TrueLink prepaid card, which gives you a lot more controls on how it is used and spent in case you want to be able to control that for your loved one. Or you can just give us a call. They sell the investment and then transfer the funds to your bank account. That way of doing it takes a trade day +2 typically, which means they sell the stock and then 2 days later you get the cash. So as long as you plan ahead, you're going to be totally fine. And it does take a little bit of planning ahead to make sure that you are doing a good job with your ABLE account, because you need to make sure that you're not going above your limits. You need to make sure that you are getting money out of your bank account so that you stay below that $2,000 limit. And you need to make sure that you're planning ahead for the funds in that ABLE account. If you pull money into your checking account from the ABLE, so let's say little Jacob wants to purchase a car, or you need to do improvements to the home to add a ramp for Jacob. And that improvement is going to be $7,000, but you have it in his ABLE account. You can pull that $7,000 from the ABLE account and put it in the checking account. As long as you have that money spent back out within the same calendar month, it will not count against SSI and Medicaid. So let me say that again, repeat that just to make sure. Let's say, today is June 17th. I am going to go out and hire a contractor to put in a ramp for my son's wheelchair. It's going to cost $7,000. He can only have $2,000 in his bank account. I can pull money from the ABLE account and put it in his bank account and use it to pay the contractor as long as I pay before the end of June. And that money is not in there when June turns to July. Okay. If I had planned a little bit ahead of time, maybe I would have pulled that money over on June 2nd instead of June 17th. But hey, at least I know that it's got to be back out of that account by the end of the month. Okay. So let's go to some of these questions. Safara says, you mentioned that ABLE accounts buy mutual funds. Does that include the Texas ABLE? Yes, the Texas ABLE has both the cash option and a mutual fund option. But this person says, I'm concerned about the account being able to lose money. Yes, that is a concern. Generally, we encourage our clients, if you think of the investment risk as a spectrum, from one, which is very, very conservative. Basically, your money is in a money market, which acts as a high yield savings account. You can go very conservative, or you can go very aggressive with your risk to where you're buying a lot of stocks, individual stocks, instead of mutual funds. And you're really taking a risk and pushing that envelope because you want more reward. Our clients on a scale of 1 to 6 are usually around 3 or 4 in terms of that risk. That helps you to make it aggressive enough that it will grow and it will have a good history of growth. Now, that's not going to say it's never going to lose money, but you're taking less risk than if you were at a level 6. The next question I see says, how can I assign the sibling or a loved one as the representative for the beneficiary once they become the account owner? The beneficiary is the account owner. When you set up the account, we will set up the representative. If that's you to help your loved one with their money, then you would be on the account with them. Or if it's someone else, another sibling or whoever, we would just set it up that way. And you can do it that way as well. You're going to set it up to have a representative when you open the account so that the beneficiary, who is the owner of the account, can have some help? Can the ABLE account be split with a portion for cash and a portion in the investment? Yes, Stephen. Yeah, we can definitely do that for you. And that comes from a little bit of that asset allocation I was talking about, choosing 1 through 6. If you choose a 3, some of it will go to cash, some of it will go to something a little bit more aggressive, but it all balances out to be there at the level of risk that you approve for the account. Now, let's talk a little bit about that special needs trust. People say, well, and I've seen questions on today's chat. Some people say, do I need an ABLE account or do I need a special needs trust? We like for our clients to have both. And here's why. I feel like the ABLE account should act like your wallet. The ABLE account is more for short-term savings. It's easier to get a hold of. There are very, very few rules on what you can put in there, what you can spend it on. And, even though you can put in $20,000 a year, you do want to keep that balance under $100,000. So you don't want to save up, $1 million in your ABLE account. Use your ABLE account the way you would use a savings account at your bank. I have checking and savings at Chase Bank. I think of the ABLE account like my savings account. When I need more money in checking, I just move it over. When I have excess money in my checking account, I shift it over to my savings. And for your loved ones, that would be their ABLE account. Now, the special needs trust, I want you to think of as a safe, or the retirement account, the 401k that you never touch until you need it. The special needs trust is for later in life when parents have passed away, and now we need money to help pay for the continuity of care for our loved ones, the housing, the medical needs, the food, everything that your loved one needs. That should be placed in the special needs trust. It is allowed to grow. It is set out there and it's for the long-term future. So think about it that way. The special needs trust has different rules and regulations that we're going to go through. I'm going to get one more question. The website doesn't specify what they are buying. Can you tell me what the scale means? I believe they give you 4 or 5 options for how aggressive you want to be. You only get one option. Safara, I'm not exactly sure which website you're talking about. To get into these more specific questions about the ABLE account, which program we use for our clients, which program you might want to use, and how all of the programs are just a little bit different, I would really encourage you to set aside some time for a personal conversation with me or one of the people on my team, because we can really dig into that for you and get your specific questions answered. Okay, so let's talk a little bit more. This page is one of my favorites about the difference between the ABLE account and a third-party special needs trust. We've got about 15 minutes left. So I want to make this as clear as possible for you about the special needs trust and the ABLE account. First of all, I want you to know, if you don't know already, there are 2 different kinds of special needs trusts. The first party and the third party special needs trust. The third party is really the ideal kind of special needs trust. They also call it a supplemental needs trust. The third party trust is what parents, grandparents, anybody who leaves money to an individual, you want to leave it to the third party special needs trust. It comes with the least amount of restrictions. There's no Medicaid payback. the third party special needs trust is the optimal way to leave money to an individual. Sometimes, though, you cannot use a third party special needs trust. You need a first party special needs trust. A first party special needs trust is for money that belongs to the individual. Not money that you're leaving to the trust, but money that maybe somebody accidentally left straight to the individual has to go to a first party trust. That is sometimes called a self-settled because it is the person's own money. You're self-settling the trust. Sometimes a person's disability is caused by a medical mistake, and there's a lawsuit, and that person, that individual wins the lawsuit, they get money. If that money is given to the individual, it needs to go into a first party special needs trust. So the first party trust is for lawsuit settlement money, mistake money, and it's also for child support. If your child is beyond age 18 and still getting child support, that would count as income unless it goes into the first party special needs trust. Also, the individual can put their own money from work into a first party special needs trust. However, when we're thinking of the first party trust, you need to remember that there is a Medicaid reimbursement clause to the first party special needs trust, as there is with the ABLE account. Okay, so let's get into the nitty gritty on this slide. The ABLE account versus the third party special needs trust. ABLE account is limited in how much you can put in. $20,000 for this year, $100,000 total. The special needs trust is unlimited. You could have millions and billions and trillions if you're Elon Musk. You can put into the special needs trust. It will not impact SSI or Medicaid eligibility. The ABLE account is generally funded with cash. You make a deposit into the ABLE account, and the contributions can come from anyone. It can be grandma and grandpa, siblings, friends, anyone. With the special needs trust, you can fund that with any kind of asset. It can be life insurance, investments. You can put a house in the special needs trust, but it must come from a third party, not the individual. The beneficiary controls their own ABLE account. When they need money, they or their authorized representative can transfer money from the ABLE account into the bank account. We feel that that's the easiest way to track spending, is to make sure that everything flows through the bank account. Now, with the special needs trust, you're going to need a trustee to help direct those funds. That can be a corporate trustee, someone you hire, or a friend or relative that you trust. Again, you can use the ABLE account to pay for housing or anything else that your loved one needs, and it will not hurt any of their benefits. However, if you use the third-party special needs trust to pay for housing while your loved one is receiving SSI benefits, then your SSI benefit will be reduced by 1/3. So the trustee of this special needs trust needs to know that there are certain things they have to follow. Like, they cannot use special needs trust money to pay for housing if you're still on SSI. Now, the way that we've recommended that you do it, that you don't touch the special needs trust until after the parents have passed away, pretty much helps to guarantee that they will no longer be on SSI, because at that point they're going to have switched over to different rules, because they're going to be on childhood disability CDB benefits or SSDI benefits based on the parent's work record. So that's one reason to leave the special needs trust for later. The ABLE account has that tax advantaged savings program to it, that component. The money that gets invested, that income in the investment, is not taxed. However, the special needs trust is taxable. The income and the gains in that account would be taxable. The ABLE account is subject to Medicaid reimbursement. whereas the third party special needs trust is not. So the way that works is after you open the ABLE, any money that Medicaid spends on your loved one, they keep track of those funds and that running balance. And when your loved one passes away, if there is still money left in the ABLE account for the first party trust, Medicaid can come back and they can say, hey, while little Jacob was alive, we spent $500,000 taking care of him. We see that now he's passed away and he has $5,000 in his ABLE account. We're going to go ahead and take that. Some people say, okay, I don't care. You paid 500 and now you're taking five. I don't care if you take that money. Some people really don't want the government to get extra money, and I understand that too. So they spend down the money. Whatever you want to do is up to you. And we're going to talk about what they do in just a moment. But that is not the case on the third party special needs trust. With the third party special needs trust, you would have a beneficiary like a sibling or a charity or another loved one, anyone that you want to leave the additional money to would be just set as a beneficiary on the third party special needs trust. So how does that work? What if you can't use all your money in the ABLE account? Do they really come back and grab everything? Well, they do, they do have some rules that they have to follow. You are legally the executor of the will or the administrator who is helping sort out the loved one's estate is legally allowed to use the ABLE funds to pay for outstanding disability expenses like unpaid bills for care, housing, medical treatments, transportation, anything like that. While they were still alive, you can use the ABLE account money to pay for those things. You can use it to pay for funeral and burial costs, cremation services, expenses like that. Then, after all of those outstanding bills are paid and the costs for funeral and burial, all of that stuff is paid, then state Medicaid can come and file a claim to recover funds they can take up to the exact dollar amount that they've spent since you opened the ABLE account. They cannot claim reimbursement for money they spent before you opened the ABLE account. And sometimes they really don't even bother, but just be aware that they can. Now, once the state Medicaid makes their claim, anything left over in the ABLE account can be left to another beneficiary or to the estate. Okay. Hand funds, yes. So you can transfer funds back and forth from the ABLE and the college savings plans, the 529 plans, to the special needs trust. Now, these are my last few slides. So if you have any further questions, please get them in the chat box. Families, they really come to us as a way to help them think about the future and kind of force them to take the next steps. We are big on accountability here at Consolidated Planning Group. So many parents just don't have the time or don't make the time, or they're intimidated by what planning needs to be done. They kind of just kick the can down the road. And even when they do meet with us, sometimes it takes another year to take the next step in determining that they are ready to start planning. But really, hiding your head in the sand is not going to help anybody. You need to take these steps as soon as possible, even though you're just trying to get from Wednesday to Thursday or trying to get out the door or whatever. And this seems very complicated. Once you get started, we will help you make sure that everything is in place for your loved one. We want you to be thinking about things like that future cost of care, the waiver programs, the ABLE account, the special needs trust, SSI and Medicaid, SSDI and Medicare, your own retirement needs and retirement funding accounts, the special needs trust and how much money needs to go in there and where on earth is all this money going to come from? That's where we help you. We give you that roadmap. We help you close the gaps, and we help you sleep better at night, knowing that either you're on the right track and your family is going to be just fine, or you're not on the right track, but here's what we're going to do to help you. Now, we do these webinars 2-3 times a week. You can sign up ahead of time. If you happen to be listening on our podcast, or maybe you're seeing this on our YouTube channel, this would be a great thing for you to do is just go look up our website, consolidatedplanninggroup.com. Look for the events tab and sign up for some of our upcoming webinars. That's where this link will take you. If you sign up ahead of time, you can submit questions before the webinar starts. You get that link and email reminders, and you get the information after the webinar is over, the slides and the link to the recording. This is our team at Consolidated Planning Group. Please take a look at these smiling faces. And remember that we are going to be reaching out to you, especially our ops team. They're going to reach out to you to see if you would like to schedule your own personal consultation, which would be with either me or my husband, Andy, or the owner of our firm, Allison Scobber. We want to answer any questions that you might have, give you some advice on moving forward and next steps, and talk to you about our company and what we do, and if we think it would be a good fit for us to work together. If you don't want us to call you, you can use this QR code. You can call us, or you can email us at the office, or you can call or email me directly, and I can set up that appointment for you. These are on Zoom. They usually last 30 minutes-ish to talk about what you need to do next and give you some helpful guidance, okay? This slide also shows the links for our YouTube channel, Instagram, our podcast, and our Facebook page. So please go ahead and sign up for your free consultation. I would love to chat with you about your journey and help you out as much as I can. I see one more question, and I think that'll be it. Does a Roth IRA change something about the ABLE account? I'm not exactly sure what you mean with your question, but what I do want to let you know, I only see your initials, AP, is that if a person has a Roth IRA, that would count against their benefits like SSI and Medicaid. So we typically do not recommend that an individual with needs has a Roth IRA. If they do, let's chat. Let's talk about that and see why and see what we can do with that so that it does not jeopardize their other benefits, okay? Last thing, thank you. You're welcome. All right. I hope you all have a fantastic week. It's Wednesday. We've made it halfway to the weekend. Please give me a call or send me an email if there's anything I can help you with, or if you want your free initial consultation. We will be reaching out. Please be kind to this group of operations members. They're just really trying to help and not trying to harass. So have a great day, everybody. Thank you for being here with me. I hope I hear from you soon. Bye-bye.